Hello there. Welcome to the Saroy channel, wherever you are in the world, and so much love to each and every one of you. For those of you that like to get to the juicy story where you have the straightforward Bigfoot encounter, well, I've got that for you on this channel right now. But the full stories are really worth listening to, and I've got them listed at the bottom, because really, just the Bigfoot encounter without the whole experience from the beginning to the middle and the end is really worth listening to. But if you just want to get to the juicy encounter that people have sent in to me, by all means, here are a few examples of them right now on my channel. So get straight into the business, shall we? And let's get started.
I knew immediately that he was telling his brother to kill me. Before I could do anything to protest, the next thing I knew was that my arm was being poked with yet another needle. And after that, I was out like a light. I was totally unconscious because I remember absolutely nothing. The next thing I do remember was that I was lying on the ground in the middle of a woods. I could tell it was a woods. You can always tell a woods. I could hear the sounds of a shovel being dug into the ground, as if someone was digging close to where I was lying. No prizes for guessing what they were digging. I could hardly believe what was happening. I was so drugged that I was barely moving, but I was conscious enough to be aware that it was very dark, and I could smell the sweet, piney smells of the woods. I was trying to fight through the wooziness that I was feeling, but it was so hard because I was heavily drugged. I knew that my life depended on getting through this wooziness, but I kept slipping in and out of consciousness the whole time. I knew enough to realize that Walter was indeed digging a grave for me to dispose of my body, and he was either going to bury me alive, beat me over the head with a trowel, or shoot me first. I truly hoped the latter would be the case, because I did not fancy being buried alive. I'd heard horrifying stories about that. I'd rather be put out of my misery first. But I needed to escape, but my legs and entire body felt like cement pillars. They felt like bricks. I had no strength in my body at all, and I was so woozy and so exhausted and so drugged. That's the only way I can describe how I was feeling. Suddenly I heard a sound of something very hefty coming into the woods. The only way I can describe it is that it sounded like there was a rhino in the thicket thundering towards us. I was too incapacitated by physical weakness to react in any way. I'd just been for way too much. But I could see Walter looking up in angst and dropping his spade in shock. Then standing there, looking at Walter digging the grave and seeing my bedraggled body lying a few yards away, stood a giant among creatures, the likes of such that I have never seen before in my entire life. And even in my drugged state, I was horrified by what I was actually seeing. It must have been so clear to this intelligent being what was actually going on. As my fogging haze seemed to dissipate, I did get a clearer view of the creature, and I've never seen anything like him. He was majestic, powerful, lofty, gargantuan, and he stood tall among creatures, covered from head to toe with long, shaggy, dark brown hair. The only way I can describe this Herculean creature was he looked like a humanoid ape. As I am good at math, I would say categorically that he was a centimetre under 9 feet tall. He was 5 feet wide precisely, and slightly over 800 pounds, by a very small margin. So he was a hefty fellow. Every part of this creature's body literally rippled with muscle that I could see moving under the hair, and the shoulders on him would make most bodybuilders look pathetically puny by contrast. He possessed the very typical arms you would expect to see in a primate, only his arms were infinitely larger and much more muscular, and he had very humanoid hands and feet. The creature had a distinctive bullet-shaped head, with a long, hairless, dark brown face, deep-set dark eyes, a big flat nose, and a very slender mouth. Suddenly the creature let out the most raucous scream that was so terrifyingly shrill it went right through me, and then he roared, and the vibrational boom was so intense it caused the whole ground to shake like a small volcano. I could hear Walter bawling, "No, no, no!" The next thing I knew was that the creature was beating his chest violently in a show of dominance, and then he lunged towards Walter, and he shrieked loudly, and there was no mistaking his intent. The creature was utterly incandescent with rage and extreme fury. Walter was standing there shaking like a leaf, and was physically crying real salty tears that poured down his cheeks in torrents. I actually almost felt sorry for him in that moment. How could you feel sorry for someone who was actually digging your grave? I don't even understand myself for that. Suddenly Walter was being kicked by the creature with his strong muscular legs, and Walter was howling out in pain, and the creature punched him several times, and then threw Walter into the open grave that he had dug. At that moment, I do not know whether Walter was dead or alive, but he had very definitely been badly beaten, and I was certain of that. The creature reached for some of the loose soil, and making a few angry grunts, he threw a lot of the loose soil over the man. I could feel my heart beating violently in my chest, and I could hear the creature moving towards me. Oh no, I thought, now it's my turn to have my lights punched out by this creature. As he approached me, his movements were very gentle and calm. I saw the creature squatting and looking down on me curiously. I heard him make some strange ape-like grunts. He put his thick finger on my face as if to examine me, and when he saw my eyes blinking, I heard him make an excited whoop, whoop, as if to say, "She's alive." He made a few happier grunting sounds as if he was terribly pleased. The next thing I knew was I was being scooped into his powerful arms, and I could tell that to him I was as light as a feather. I felt so tiny and small in his powerful hold. It was so dark in the woods, and I should have been terrified by this apex predator. But the most extraordinary peace came over me, flooding over me with such an incredible warmth. I just knew that he was helping me, and I just felt so relaxed in his huge, big arms. I felt safe, secure, and serene. I had no idea where he was taking me, but I trusted him. I was still so groggy, and so I kept drifting in and out of consciousness. I do not know how long I was in this creature's arm, but I might as well have been in there for an eternity, because he carried me with such smooth grace that I was in a comfortable state. The next thing I knew was that I was being put down outside the door of a farmhouse, and well, you've guessed it, the rest is history. I did report my abduction to the police, and due to the police artist doing a great job on the sketch, the two men were identified and arrested. I never told anyone about the hairy humanoid that saved my life for fear of ridicule. I mean, who would have believed me that my life had been saved by a hairy humanoid that I now know to be a Bigfoot? I do believe the Bigfoot knew that Walter was trying to kill me and bury me, and I think it incensed him so much that he went out of his way to help me and took me to the farmhouse where I would get help. You see, the creature was incredibly intelligent.
So there we are. That's the juicy bits of our stories tonight. I personally think you should go back and listen to the whole story because it makes it so much more exciting, because then you learn all about where it happened, the location, and all about the fabulous characters involved in the story. And that makes the story so much more gripping. But as I say, so go down to the description and then click on to the YouTube link, and then you will hear the whole story. Until next time, goodbye and good night.